Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of League Zero, and welcome to the Week 1 Season 4 intermediate match between the Thought Police and the Exodus. My name is Akronator, and I'm joined by the play-by-play faster for tonight's Volcanor with T4 on production. How you feeling tonight, Volcanor?
Hello, I'm doing pretty good. Let's get this game rolling soon, and I'm excited to see what we have in store for us tonight.
Yeah, definitely. This game hyped up maybe for some of the wrong reasons. This game, for those who are curious about the community voting, whatnot, of like what preference they wanted for streams to or games to be streamed, this game beat out the other game that's unstreamed, Papega versus MI6, by like 2 votes, give or take. So it was very close, but I think people wanted to see these teams versus each other because they're considered two of the weaker teams when you look at a lot of the early season power rankings. So I think people are expecting a toilet bowl. Personally, I'm hoping for some good stuff. I've heard some promising things, some not so promising things from these teams. So I kind of want to see how they actually match up, because preseason power rankings, at the end of the day, don't really matter. Yeah.
Right. I mean, what was it last season? I think the preseason power rankings were all completely wrong. So
more or less, yeah.
yeah, it's kind of there just to give everyone an idea of what people think.
Pretty much. So coming into this first map, it looks like Lijiang Tower will be the first map. I believe it was Thought Police that chose that. And this map's going to be honestly pretty exciting, because pretty much every single round has a different composition that can be played. Symmetra is rather comfortable for picks on this map in general. All 3 rounds she can be played, although maybe a little bit less than something like Gardens, but I've seen it done. It can work.
Yeah, and especially in Tier 2, you see a lot of the teams up at the higher level of Tier 2 go and lean towards this Symmetra pick on Lijiang Tower. I mean, especially the well of Lijiang Tower. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but getting across that gap and onto point through the window. So we'll see what these teams run. Yeah, we'll see what these teams run, though. We can guess and speculate all we want, but it's not Tier 1, so anything's possible.
No, this is the intermediate division. So this is, oh god, let's see, it would be Diamond through Mid Masters, if my memory serves. So it's hard to say. I mean, looking at these rosters, interestingly enough, we do have Dad on the DPS again. I know he was being teased as like a support, maybe a tank player. He's going back to old faithful, old reliable.
Right. That is one of the players I do remember. His dad being a pretty good DPS in intermediate. Last time I saw him, so.
Yep, he's been around since season 1, all that good stuff. Actually, we have quite a few returning players here. I don't think this is the same Fish that was in season 2. I believe that was a different player, but we do have, say, Greek Archivist, also known as Little Pants Gum Sauce. I don't think Laser has played here before. I don't think Yosemite has, but I know Axel has at least coached. So a lot of returning players in some regards. Looks
right.
Like,
so it'll be interesting to see, though, because a bunch of these players coming off of different teams in the past.
Yep, sorry, I'm looking at like 3 different chats at once because
we're all trying to figure out if the players are ready.
We have the lobbies stuff ready. Exodus seems to be having some technical difficulties getting perhaps some of their players in. I
think they just said they're ready. Yeah, they just
Uh,
had 2 players say that they were ready for Exodus. So
okay, so we might be getting into it very briefly. The production side of things is ready. Thought Police, I believe, is good to go. I think we're just waiting on. Yeah, we're just waiting on Exodus. So once they give a definitive yes, because I don't completely trust a copy pasta.
right,
Looks like they are
they are.
going in anyway. So we are R, and that whole
We are
thing.
R. Everyone is R.
So we are going to be starting off on Gardens. This is probably going to be the one map, if anything, that will see some like Pharah, maybe some Echo, uh, potentially some Symmetra. Although this is like the one map where I would expect it to be less Symmetra as opposed to Night Market, as opposed to Control Center, right? So it'll be interesting to see
Right.
what
I
these
mean,
teams tease.
you might have one come out early to get onto point early, but other than that, I don't think you'll see much. We do see
Keep in mind,
lasers on it right now.
yeah, keep in mind these teams are still in spawn, so they can tease us a little bit, meme around perhaps. Dad is known for his Doomfist, but I'm not sure if they're going to want to roll out on that. Whereas I wouldn't be too shocked to see Thought Police run out on the Shadow Dive. It is rather common nowadays to kind of making a resurgence. Yeah, okay, it looks like these teams are just sticking onto this laser, actually staying onto the Symmetra, so they're going to be looking for
Yep. Yep,
your
they're doing that
early
teleport.
TP.
Oh, Immortal almost didn't make it through the
Oh.
teleport. That would have been a tad unfortunate as Fish gets hacked right off the back, but he does get a lot of damage on the Tevatron. So just bam back and forth right now. Nothing too big. Gumsauce gets hit with the accretion. And looking at ultimates, Gumsauce is very high on that coalescence, so probably end up using it to try to open up this point. Immortality Field from Axel used already as well, though. So now with the coalescence online and being used, gonna try to burn through what he can, but a shatter from Fish. It only hits 2, I believe. But I think it's perfect to just open up the fight here, as we will see Thought Police, I believe, winning this. No, this is Exodus
That would
winning
be
this first fight.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah,
Give me 2
Exodus,
seconds to realize which team is which color, and then I'm good.
yeah. Well, both teams honestly playing really weird there. You had Thought Police not really engaging quickly, and with this composition with Shadow Dive, they need to engage fast, right? They need to take advantage of whatever mistakes Exodus are making, or is Exodus really invested ultimates heavily there?
4-man EMP, and I do agree with you, but we'll get back to that in a second, as 4-man EMP, but Little is still the first one to go down. And key to that fight, Yozumai on that Lucio was not part of that EMP. But able to get the sound barrier out, keep everyone alive as Dad finally falls. Here comes Jeff on the Reaper. He does get quite a lot of damage. That should be kills cleaned up, but there's nothing happening. Immorta is alive so long after being so low.
Oh, let's have a
And
Tron.
finally, he finally goes down. But again, this is just more point time for Exodus.
Yeah, they're doing a great job stalling out. It looks like Chief actually will get demeched. Gumsauce falling as well is not a great engagement here.
No,
for Thought
actually,
Police.
I think they hold it. They do.
They do. So that was
Fish-
just a lack of target focus, in all honesty, from Thought
And-
Police. I'm not sure what's fully going on with them, but I'm getting very distinct toilet bowl vibes here. But it's only the first round of the first map.
That's exactly
so-
what happened the first fight too. Is Gumsauce used that coalescence and no one follows up on it.
And
So I
they're
think
in one
that's-
place territory already. They need to touch. They need to get in and do something. They can't
They
lose
will.
This fight.
So Tevatron will touch, but almost immediately get bursted down. Does get some of the healing. Archivist got stunned and is out of the fight already.
Oh no, that's it.
I believe that was an accretion, but that's the fight. That's this round of Lijiang Tower.
You can't engage with a fight like that when you lose both your DPS chief and archivist going down like that. I mean, that is your win condition in this composition, right? Shadow Dive, the
Yeah.
entire purpose is to just build up to that EMP Blossom.
Right.
And they never really got to use that. They used the EMP. I think they tried to use the Blossom at one point, but it didn't really
They
get
did,
anything.
and it worked pretty well. It was what caused that second fight to be a little bit chaotic, but again, like you mentioned, lack of targeting kind of led to nothing happening.
Yeah, honestly, it was just kind of Thought Police standing there. They get to the point, they get to the choke point, and they just like stand there like a deer in the headlights, waiting for Exodus to do something. And while Exodus was heavily over investing ultimates, it didn't really matter because they were winning the fights. And now coming into this next round, more Symmetra probably for the rest of this map, and both teams going for more of this brawl.
Yep. And Chief immediately kills Laser. That
Oh.
okay. And he will go down in response. But the important thing about that kill on the Laser is it puts Thought Police onto the
You're
point.
kidding me.
Okay. I was gonna say that was important. It might not be important for much longer, as they are getting chased off of the point, and Gum Sauce goes down here too. Everyone's gone. Exodus cleanup.
Object permanence comes to mind when thinking of the problem Thought Police had there. They recognized that Dad was on the Doomfist, and they did nothing about it. They just stood there and were like, oh, well, okay, continue to fight as though there isn't a Doomfist on the field. They didn't respect his sightlines. Doomfist is very much like a Widowmaker. You have to play carefully enough so that he can't just punch you into a wall.
And he almost just does it again, but Laser takes the kill before he has a chance to.
Yeah, pretty much. That's going to be another quick disengage, and I mean, Thought Police, they have resources, they have a good amount of ultimates coming into this, but they need to actually set up. I don't think Archivist on this Symmetra is going to find too much more value now that they don't have control of the point, you know?
Yeah, and if you want anything, any positive, you got the Immortality Field and the window out from the Baptiste. That's pretty much it, though.
They need to engage. See, again, they're just standing here doing nothing in the choke point.
And again, Dad goes down, but not killed, able to use that meteor strike to get out of the fight, even though he had little HP. Finally goes down, and we'll see the high new from Chief. Hopefully get someone. I think it causes enough of a distraction to enable Archivist to burn down Fish and enable Thought Police to win this point back eventually. But 70%.
Yeah, they're in like a fight and a half territory, so this defense is going to have to be borderline perfect from Thought Police, and that's a tall order, all things considered. It doesn't seem like they knew where Exodus was coming from. Early Symbol, but I mean, Exodus just disengaged. I'm not quite sure what the thought process was there, especially with the positioning of this wall. I mean, what would they have done even if Exodus pushed in? Maybe something more aggressive with the choke points, but oh dear.
Oh, Flux that's a huge Flux! But Laser just gets lifted into the air with it and gets 2 kills with a Deadeye because of it. And that fight's already over.
Yeah, point's gonna get flipped over. It doesn't even matter that Axel died. Spawn and
get lit on the way out.
Yeah, so I mean, like, again, they're in a fight and a half territory, so they have another clean fight. By the time they get settled, they
and I mean,
have a good fight.
Yosemite comes back and taxis Axel back into the fight.
Yeah, Axel's going to be back rather
completely set up, so this could be a chance you can take advantage of, but you already lost that advantage.
Ooh, that's a good shatter, though.
Shatter does really good, and it actually brings Fish down before he can get his shatter up, so...
Wait.
As much as you're saying no, Immortus is the last one alive and already out of mech.
I was saying no more because you never shatter and immediately press charge. That is like the cardinal sin of Reinhardt. Anyone above the rank of like bronze would tell you that. So unfortunate there, I think Tevatron got a little bit hyper aggressive and not for the better, because if you press charge, right, you don't have the shield. You just gotta swing, fire strike so that you have the shield when needed. But now, Police are in a good situation. They have the ultimates to deal with everything that's coming in. They're gonna be coming up onto the wall soon.
Shatter. Dude, they were all standing in front of the shield! The shield doesn't matter if you're all standing in front of it!
And that's probably the map. I don't foresee this going any better. Little, in particular, really needed to stay alive in that fight, and they couldn't get shattered. Like, he needed to stay alive. He had beat. That was the win condition to survive the shatter. Granted, Tevatron could have blocked it as well. But they needed that beat, and he just got annihilated.
Here's what I saw. Tevatron is backing up with the rest of his team, and suddenly 3 members of his team just walk in front of the shield. You'll see it here.
Oh, that is that looks like a complete lack of communication to me
It
because
is, but
the team needs to be behind the shield, but Tevatron is he's juking his own team. I think that's the best way to
right.
describe it, right?
Yeah, that's probably
He's
the best
going
way.
further back when the rest of his team is expecting him to be in front. So he needs to call like back, and he cannot get further back until his team is behind him.
Right. And again,
Furthermore,
we don't know entirely the calls. He could have been yelling back up, and
well,
his team just ignored
even
him.
so, it
Or
doesn't matter what the calls are, right? As the main tank, you need to be making those calls, and if the team isn't
right,
listening to you, then that's a problem of just practice and synergy, right? So that's similarly like a team-wide issue because everyone was playing in the terrible position, in a bad position, and then Tevatron was also faking his own team out, which lowers confidence in the team. I've coached so many teams. I've coached some of these players actually, ironically, on both of these teams, more
right.
so who are currently in. Like I've coached Greek, I've coached Chief. They know this. I'm not sure if the rest of the team knows it, but either way, Thought Police have moments of decency, but Li Zhang was not pretty, not in the slightest.
No, I
It,
mean you get essentially 100-0. Well, no, you do get 100-0 the first round, and
yeah.
you only get 35% the second round because you got a little lucky. I hate to say, I mean, there was a bit of skill there, but you did get a little bit lucky with how you broke open the point.
Definitely. I think maybe lucky is a bit too harsh, but it's in the right
But
vein.
yeah,
They it never felt like Exodus was out of control, right? Even when they were losing fights, it's like, okay, you know,
yes,
they still have a higher control percentage of the points. They still have a decent amount of ultimates. They've been playing the neutral fight better. I mean, again, like they just let Dad on the Doomfist do whatever he wanted. This is like one of his signature heroes, and just
hmm
allowing a Doomfist to have free sight lines, do whatever he wants, is just unacceptable. Like you need to focus down that Doomfist. You need to play around that Doomfist and make him work for any amount of value that he finds. Instead, they were just standing there as though he was playing, I don't know, May, right? It doesn't matter. Like anything that wasn't a
right.
Doomfist. So
I mean,
there's a lot that Thought Police need to do going into this next map, which will be King's Row, by the way.
right. So we'll see Kings Row. We'll see the one, the only Scrims Row. Uh,
Yeah, well, at this
I mean,
point, it's gonna be
realistically,
standard.
it is, but realistically, this is one of the few maps you can see a lot of different playstyles on. So I think it
Possibly,
works
yeah.
pretty well.
It's gonna be mostly brawl, but the kind of brawl, as you just said, there's a lot of customization in terms of if they want to get like hyper aggressive with Ryan Zarya, if they want to do something like Ryan Sigma that we saw a little bit on Night Market there from both of these teams briefly. That's a little bit more of like a passive style of brawl because you want to poke more than like get up in their faces. We might even see some snipers like a Hanzo Kree
Right.
combination. It really depends on what these teams' comfort zones are.
And you always
Technically,
have the Spawndor Widowmaker.
that's it. I mean, if you can get a free shot, might as well, you know.
Right.
But technically, there's also the AC 130 strategy where they teleport the Bastion up on top of the statue for first point. That's more of a niche
I
strategy.
don't
I
think we're
wouldn't
gonna see
expect.
that.
No, don't get too excited at the concept of that. It's a little bit more niche. Oftentimes, you'll see it in, say, overtime pushes, just because
Right.
people are laser focused in. They're not necessarily thinking about, hey, let's counter a Bastion. It's more,
Yeah, and
let's
also
just get this done.
it's kind of that all or nothing idea.
Yeah.
You either hold or you lose the map. So that's generally where you see that. But I'm also wondering if we might see someone try to do aerial superiority with either the Pharah or Echo and try to take advantage of that,
It's
especially
possible.
on
I
the
think,
first point. It's a possibility. I don't think we'll see it any farther than the first point, though.
yeah, it's really difficult. Like, you can get value out of it mostly on, like, say, the defense of second point, where you can like kind of skirt around the rooftops
The
a bit.
archway, yeah.
But it's kind of rare. I'd say, like, if anything, I'd expect to see an Echo as opposed to a Farah, because she has a little bit more horizontal mobility to skirt around the corners and whatnot. Only got about a minute left, so these teams should be getting ready, and we'll be hopping into the next map in just a moment.
Right. And so I'm trying to think, what do we think other than the communication? What do we think thought police need to work on? Is
Their
because
tempo. They need to go
Yeah.
faster. Once they should be coming up with the plans as they're walking into the fights, which in this case they're going to be on offense. So before they engage, because they can control the speed of engagements, and once they say, okay, we're going to focus down this player, say, okay, we're going to focus down the off tank, right? You run in, kill the off tank, and then rinse repeat for whoever else you want to kill, right? So you need to have that plan. Okay, we're going to use these ultimates, we're going to use these cooldowns, whatever, and then go in, right? Uh, as opposed to just kind of standing there, getting to the fight and saying, "Okay, now what do we do?" Because that's a terrible situation to be in. I've seen teams do that in the past. I've played on and coached teams that have done that in the past, and it's a terrible feeling in the game, let alone to watch it, because you're like, you know what's happening, but you can't stop the train wreck. And I'm hoping that Thought Police can fix their tempo just a little bit.
Right. And here we are. We are on to Kings Row, as we'll have to wait for another 15 seconds to see what these teams might be thinking.
Yeah, well,
But
we'll be getting a earlier look at Exodus since they're on the defense.
Right.
Thought Police can meme around and spawn however much they want for another 20, 30, or 40 seconds either. So kind of unsurprising. Both of these teams teasing the stereotypical brawl. Main difference being, of course, the Flex DPS, the Doomfist versus the Mei. Dead is out of spawn, so he is sticking with the Doomfist. Not quite a one trick, but a signature hero, shall we say. He's also known for his Genji, his Pharah, but his Doomfist is definitely a pocket pick that he likes to play whenever possible. Whereas, Archivist on the Mei is a little bit more stable, shall I say. If Dad can't find value on the Doomfist, it's going to be very do or die.
And then Immorta, the Mei can definitely slow down the Doomfist too.
Definitely. It's going to be difficult alone to deal with the Doomfist as Mei, but at the very least, the slow should be pretty good. And then Immorta on the Zarya will allow for a little bit more brawliness on the defense as opposed to a little bit less brawl in-your-face capabilities from Greek on Thought Police with the D.Va. So interesting rotation here. I guess just to take as little poke as possible and avoid any Mei walls.
I mean, it worked pretty well. They get the first bit of poke damage and the Mei wall goes up and starts to get some damage in. But Axel and Mortality Field from both teams actually, both taken down already, and now they fight in the hotel a little bit. So you get Immorta, which is actually a really good pick because you reset his charge, but fighting against a Reinhardt and a Doomfist in the hotel is probably not a good idea.
No, that's I was gonna say before it happened that the little hotel is honestly probably a Doomfist's greatest dream, to have an entire team run in there, because you could just punch and you're almost guaranteed to hit something at some point.
Right.
You're gonna kill someone, which in this case Chief fell, so already Archivist onto the Sombra, so it'll be interesting to see how they find value there.
Immortality Field coming out from Exodus, and we have the window coming out from Thought Police. So we'll see if that can really do anything. They do save their Immortality Field for now, and it helps get Fish out of the fight. But now that the field's gone, Dad and Laser are trying to clean up, but definitely went too deep. Yoza might attack too.
Okay.
You went
that's
too deep.
A good disengage. That's a decent disengage from Thought Police because they can now push in with
definitely.
Maybe half of the members from Exodus still alive.
Right, change it into a 6v4 instead of a 4v3. High Noon comes out, basically just breaks the shield, and Thought Police get their first tick on point.
Tevatron is going to have a shatter. Okay.
Oh, Laser coming in. High Noon right out of spawn, and Immorta's at 100 energy.
That was a combo with Dad, right? He punched the shield from Tevatron to make sure that the shield wasn't there. The Greek couldn't eat all of the damage. So while that was good progress on the point, 71% is nothing to scoff at. You have to capture the entirety of First Point Kings Row, otherwise you're probably going to lose, right? So coming into this next fight, what I'm looking at here, is probably going to be Greek's bomb, as well as Archivist CMP if he can build that up.
I'm looking at Immorta's Graviton. Well, there's the sound barrier, which will definitely do a good job, and Dad's hacked right now. This bomb's got to be huge, and it kind of is. It takes Axel down. That's one of the healers, and that's the main healer, so no sustain left for Exodus. Thought Police will get the point and clean up and stall Immorta a bit.
bit of a misplay there from Exodus. They just kind of got split. They forced themselves into the little hotel. And the thing with the hotel is not a bad rotation, but you need to do it fast, right? You can't just stay there because you're gonna die, and that's exactly what happened. Right, they lost Axel very early into that fight. I believe they lost Laser early in the fight as well. And I mean, Thought Police invested what, 3 ults into that fight? Worth it just to get first point going into the streets phase.
I mean,
and they're pushed up really far.
Yeah,
as well,
I'd
so their cards
argue.
gonna get all the progress.
I'd argue to push up this far, 3 ults is worth it. Plus, you now have the EMP, which hits all 6, and Dad's dead instantly.
Okay.
I don't know if you need to use the high noon as well, but
Yeah, it's a little bit of overkill, but at the same time, if it can stabilize a little bit further, because the card's still moving, mind you. They just have
Yeah,
to
it
whittle
is.
on it, and they can just do whatever they want. Gumsauce now has the amplification matrix, and he's up on the high ground. This is really good positioning from Thought Police, and it's going to be difficult now that the defense has a distinctive spawn advantage, but it's a good start. What is that window? Okay.
I don't know, but apparently it works because Dad's dead.
Oh, dear.
And
Oh,
they
Gumsauce.
force Yosemite to use the sound barrier. It will stabilize the fight for Exodus, and the Shatter's gonna end it.
Tevatron was already dead. That was a free shatter. And
Exactly.
worth it as well. You do not want to lose anyone else in a 4v6, right? Because it's still kind of winnable. Not so much so for Thought Police, but you don't want to risk it, right? So now if you're Thought Police, you have a lot of time, and you push the cart a good amount of the way. Like, this is
Oh yeah,
not the
definitely.
worst thing in the world if the cart stops there. It doesn't go any further.
Yeah, because especially we see that a lot. Cart stopping right before this capture point on
The main
King's
thing I'm
Row.
concerned about is Thought Police doesn't have a ton of ultimates, so they might need to take a dry fight.
And Fish is dead. That's
Oh,
the
yeah.
other main thing you're concerned about.
Oh, Face Jam. That was a
Okay,
grab
I
with the
don't-
invisible.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to say about that. There's not much you can do about it if you've already used the immortality field like Gumsauce did. But
You just, yeah.
you can't
yeah,
not use the immortality field because then you die to everything else.
First off, you need to be tracking those ultimates so that you know how to counter them, as well as the fact that they needed to do something about the grab right. Greek needed to eat it. Little Pants needed to be building up towards his beats. None of that really happened, and they just got annihilated. It was a great first kill onto Fish, but there was nothing else after that.
All right, and one of the big thing we have to worry about here, Archivist 95%, as the rest of Thought Police come from this high ground in order to really
Cool.
do something. Archivist gets
Cool.
4. That's actually pretty good, and the bomb will take Yosemite out, who can't move. And
Laser
as
getting low
Fish
as well,
and
yep.
yeah, that's gonna be it for that fight.
That's probably
We'll see
second
Thought
player right
Police. Yeah, Thought Police should take the second point. There we go. Just gotta take that
Okay.
out of the way.
there. Okay, Thought
Now, do they
Police
get
showing
Immorta? They
little bit of-
do.
little bit of life here. It took actually not too many resources. That took more resources from Exodus, and they lost that fight. So that's rather good. They really just used EMP bomb, and that's a good combo. Although a little bit
Yes.
timed, but that's neither here nor there. I got the kill. Good enough, right? Now your Tevatron, you're gonna have a shatter right about now.
Oh, he uses it straight into the wall, straight into the shield of Fish,
Yeah.
and he's gonna die. He's way too far up, and his shield broke.
Hyper
That's
aggression
gonna-
is not necessarily the best thing when your team isn't there to follow up. Yep, free shatter
Oh,
from
free shatter. Well, we'll
be
see
fair,
that
it's-
cleaned up. I think Gumsauce. No, Gumsauce will not live.
No.
Chief will.
To be
But-
fair, while Fish is getting these massive shatters, it's also stagger kills. So it's not the most impressive shatters in the world. They're just kind of focusing Tevatron and shattering 4 when it's free. But either way, it does kill the entirety of Thought Police outside of Tevatron, so it's good.
And it
At the
kills
very least.
momentum.
Most notably, Dad did swap off of the Doomfist, and he's now on
Yes.
Hanzo. So
And
that's-
almost has it. Both high noons coming out. Laser gets his off. Laser gets his off. Chief got his off into
Ah.
Fish's shield, who was standing right in front of him. So wasn't really impactful at all.
It's a little bit painful watching Thought Police run into these fights with seemingly no planning for what Exodus might have in their bank, as well as how to deal with that, right? That's just like standard stuff. That's stuff that like gold teams will do. And it doesn't feel like Thought Police are really planning to deal with any of these resources.
Well, they're going full dive here as Fish and Immorta have to have the immortality field used on both of them to stay alive, and they'll both likely fall here. But so does Tevatron, so Fish will get back faster. Laser's
Oh.
gone, deleted off the map, and Morta has to
Okay.
remech, dies before he can, and they'll finish this map almost guaranteed. It's just Yosemite with the sound barrier.
And they just ignore him as well.
They're continuing to ignore him. That's what I'm looking at. He's finally found and finally might be killed, but he brought this into overtime.
Oh no. Oh,
Okay, Morta
Chief.
gets
You can't
Chief.
let that happen.
No,
Oh,
it's going to be capped, but
in overtime.
You let
but
it-
at least it was correct.
yes, it was capped. At least it was capped. But I still can't excuse the fact that you just let Yosemite sit there and he single-handedly brought it into overtime just by existing. Because
Yeah,
he didn't
pretty
even
much.
he didn't even move. He wasn't dodging anything. He just existed. And he brought it
Originally,
into
what-
overtime because they didn't want to go remove him.
I don't know if they noticed that he was there. Initially, I thought they were ignoring him to just let the sound barrier wear off, because that's viable, right? Because you don't want to have to chunk
Yes.
through that and deal with everything else. So you focus on other people who are coming back and send them back to spawn. But then they just continue to ignore him when the barrier had long since dissipated, and it was this big problem of, okay, well, now you have a Lucio on card. Interesting now, though, that Archivist is back onto the Mei. The Sombra actually worked for them. So I guess
did.
they're going to be looking for the choke points to wall off, is my guess. Otherwise, dare I say, they looked better on the Sombra, and they might have wanted to keep that, because that's what they got their momentum with. They didn't really find too much value with the Mei, but I can be
I'm wondering if
proven
they think the May is going to be better at this first point, at least because of the hotel.
wrong. Maybe. It
Oh, this is
depends
going to
on
be
how they wanna
interesting.
play.
They've got 2 snipers and a mercy damage boost.
They might be.
They
sticking
want
on
to
this at
take
the very
someone down.
least. Oh, yeah.
Aw,
Okay, nope. They're full
nothing
sale
comes
swap.
of it. Yeah, I
Back
figured
to
that was going to be a
Taylor.
swap, but they wanted someone to die from that.
They wanted the body shot at the very least. Didn't quite happen.
Right.
Dad posturing up on the high ground as the Doomfist immediately finds Chief and he is now
And deleted. Yeah, that's almost guaranteed going to be first point over to Exodus here.
out. One fight, 1 points. That's about as much value and efficiency as you can get out of an offense. And honestly, that just kind of comes down to Little Pants and Greek not peeling for Chief. It's their jobs. Greek has to disable and mitigate the damage coming in as the Diva, now as the Zarya, and Little Pants needs to be there to heal Chief up. The Kree is a very diveable target, but if you can keep him alive, there's a lot of value to be had with just his existence, right? The amount of damage he's putting into the fight. Unsurprisingly,
Yeah.
Archivist swaps over to the Sombra though, and Greek onto the Zarya now as well.
I mean, a little bit more protection for the rest of your DPS, your squishies from that Doomfist. Able to just bubble one of them if he goes in and punches them, so I can kind of see it.
Oh,
As
interesting high note.
that was Blazer's. Okay, reload. Yeah, it was used for reload. Let's just say that.
Sure, why not? Although he didn't pull the trigger, so hard to say either way. Neither team has really too many ultimates online. Interesting rotation from Thought Police, however.
Window
Kind of-
from the back line. I mean, you kind of go ring around the rosy here, and
It's kind of
it
working.
works.
It's working. I'll give him credit on that one.
Yeah.
And it looks like, yeah, they just want to fully disengage, but people are getting pretty hard staggered. Yeah, laser and
Oh my
Axel just-
gosh, this is the BAP and the McCree, so
Yeah.
they finally go.
That's
gives-
the kind of things that Thought Police need to do, in all honesty, on this
Yes.
Streets phase, because they lost first points so quickly. If they can win another 2 fights, they're going to get the time bank down to a more reasonable position. However, because Greek isn't on the Diva anymore, there's not really a chance to deal with Immortus grab, so you just
Ooh.
kind of have to tank that. Little
Well,
needs to
there's
build
your
up.
advantage from the May wall right there from Dad.
Ooh.
As
Great
it
Dad.
almost doesn't matter, but Greek
Oh, no.
gets a great graviton. No, Immorta gets a great graviton. My bad, I was looking at the wrong player. And
You know,
kind of just ends the fight.
in this composition that Thought Police is running, because they don't have the Diva to eat it or anything like that, it's really going to be on Gumsauce and Little Pants to coordinate like who's going to deal with the crowd. Is it going to be Gum Sauce's lamp, or is it going to be Little Pants building up to that beat and utilizing it there? Neither of those things happened.
I mean, your other option is Archivist EMPing it, but you much rather have it for right there where you just get 5 people and delete 3 of them.
Yeah, so far the EMP usage from Archivist has been rather good. I'm not too familiar with them as a player. They haven't really played in a couple seasons, but this seems like a comfort pick for them. So this is rather good.
Without a doubt.
Interestingly, Immorta swaps over to the D.Va now. So there is some potential to shut down Greek, but at the same time, it's going to force Exodus to play a little bit less brawly. They can't get in Thought Police's face as much as like the Zarya allows for you to get right up next to people and get a whole ton of damage from it.
Look where Greek is.
Greek is flanking. Not quite flanking. He's up on the high ground.
Not quite flanking, but he's hidden. And he'll
get
that Graviton Surge onto everybody.
What is Tevatron?
Yosemite just kind of goes, hey, Sound Barrier go Burt, and ignores it.
Tevatron fell so early in that fight. I'm not sure entirely what happened. I think he's just mindlessly swinging into the grab, but you can't do that when the entire enemy team, is still alive and healthy.
Grab doesn't stop. The grab doesn't stop abilities. You can still get hurt, and with Greek having fallen so shortly after that, there's no tank line to keep him up. So that'll be Exodus with a pretty easy fight win, and now 3.5 minutes to cap this.
It doesn't feel like Thought Police really have thought this through, pun intended, I guess. They don't seem to have too many plans outside of maybe use like a singular ultimate. Oh, that was good though.
That was an amazing EMP, but guess what? You didn't get Dad, who had the Blizzard and just saved the rest of his team with it, almost, kind of.
This kind of goes back to what we were saying on the first map, where Thought Police's target focus was non-existent. There wasn't any target focus after the EMP shatter, because there was a good amount of time there where no one was frozen, because the Blizzard was still doing its magic. Right. And they could have gotten at least a few more kills than what they did. No one's shooting the same target. Whenever you look at anyone on Thought Police, they're all looking at different people.
Right.
Oh,
well, we'll see if Chief can look at multiple people at one time, but nope, Immorta just completely defense matrices all of it.
Oh dear.
And with 2 people on the ground for Thought Police, well, Yosemite falls, so this fight's definitely not over. We'll see if they can complete the map here for Exodus.
Thought Police have a distinct spawn advantage now, so it is going to be a staggered fight. Thought Police are going to win these fights, so Fish falling there was kind of the final nail in the coffin for that push. There's still 2 minutes, and Thought Police don't necessarily need to full hold. I mean, it would be great if they could win the map, for them. But at the very least, if they get it to under a minute, they still have another chance to win this map, assuming Exodus full cap.
Okay, laser speed boost, High Noon.
Oh no.
We'll definitely get Tevatron as he is frozen from the Blizzard, but that's not much for the Blizzard in High Noon. And Greek gets Axel somehow with that bomb, but...
Is anyone left to contest?
No, not yet, but they will spawn.
Tevatron?
Yes, Tevatron comes in, so that will be quick enough. And they're going swaps. Yeah, respawns are coming, that's what I said. That'll be quick enough for them to actually get the rest of the respawns in.
Oh dear.
With Hammond and more.
Oh, you're kidding me.
I think
they just need to stall for a few more seconds.
I know, they need to stall for 5 seconds. You need 5 seconds.
No,
4 seconds of stall was all you need, and Tevatron was on the D.Va coming back.
4 seconds was the difference between draw and lose, or go again for Thought Police, and that is tragic. There was... Target focus doesn't even really matter in that situation. They were just stalling for time. But they had like 3 people on car all grouped up next to each other. And that's not how you stall a cart. That's how you lose. Because unfortunately, then you can just have someone like Fish run in and just cleave away, getting damage on 3 people at the same time. Huge amounts of value. That's gotta be a little bit of a cold sweat going down Exodus's neck, though, because that was a little bit too close for comfort. Now they're in a win or draw scenario, but they were almost into a continued
losable
scenario. still losable, yeah. So at the very least, for your Exodus, you can breathe a sigh of relief now that that's over. Rough offense. They have a lot of things to work on. Unfortunately for Thought Police, they have more things to work on thus far. But that doesn't mean that these can't be fixed over the course of this series. I've seen crazier, right? So when you're coming into
Right.
this, it's only a minute and 4 seconds. That's not a lot of time. So at the very least, Thought Police definitely have this as a drawable situation. They just need to play it slow, play it safe, make sure they disengage if needed, but they can't give up that tick, which makes it a little bit harder. I like the potential of this early engage. No, okay, they're just kind of backing up.
Yeah,
So
it's the same thing they did last time. Just try to get a pick, but
what they can't do is allow
Thought Police
Exodus to
playing
win in the first fight again.
right. Well, Thought Police played that a bit smart, not even showing anything, so you don't get any damage on it. Fish half health, but Chief
Oh,
is
no.
dead from a fire strike, and that could be the map right there.
Probably
As Little and
is.
Gum Sauce are also so low. That is the
Yeah,
map.
no, that's the map. The McCree is like 90% of the damage when you have a May as the other DPS. So when you lose him in that kind of scenario, it's just terrible for your chances of holding that unless you like immediately picked off both enemy DPS, especially because they're running the Doomfist and the McCree. So they have a good amount of damage, comeback potential. Unless you could take out like both of the enemy DPS and put yourself in a good position to take out the rest of the enemy team, you were probably going to lose that. And sure enough, that was the beginning of the end. There's so many things that I wanted to say, but is coming more from a coaching perspective because, of course, I've coached some of the players on Thought Police, but I have to get out of that mindset. I'm a caster, and just I have to say, holistically, Thought Police have a lot to work on.
But the thing is, everything they have to work on is easily workable.
Oh yeah, they could
We,
fix it over the course of this series, but they need to be in the right mindset. Which I mean, being down 2-0 isn't
I
exactly the
don't think they
best
will
place
be.
to be in.
Nah.
It's
I,
so difficult to reverse sweep.
I'm more thinking that this is very fixable within the next week, going into the
Possibly,
next game set of games.
especially because their next game isn't next weekend because that's 4th of July. It's the following weekend. So if
Oh
they
yeah.
work on it, they look decent at times. Their offense on Kings Row is good. Their defense had its moments. Maybe not on first point, but second point, third point, that was much better. But yeah,
I mean,
it looks
mechanically they aren't bad.
no,
I mean,
absolutely not.
we saw Archivist on the Sombra was really good. Chief had some moments, some really good moments on that McCree too. So
Yeah, definitely. They have the pieces. They're mechanically there, but mechanics have never been the defining factor in team play. You know what I
no,
mean? Like you look at like the Philadelphia Fusion back in how in season one, where it was basically just the Carpe show. There's a reason they didn't
Tough
win.
almost lost to Shanghai.
Basically, like twice, yeah. And Mayhem
Yeah,
multiple times back in the day. You know, the mechanics can only get you so far. You need to play as a team. Otherwise, teams who are more coordinated and potentially even less mechanically inclined can just roll over you. Now, Exodus is making quite a few mistakes as well, and I think that's why it's a bit of a struggle, you know, back and forth, maybe more in favor of Exodus, but it still feels like Thought Police could even steal a map before the end of this series, but
yeah.
they they gotta really come together
And I want to
to
make
fix the
sure that
problems.
we all have this right. Is this first to 3 wins, or is
This is
this
first
all
to
5
three,
maps?
so this upcoming map will be the potential last one. It is match points for Exodus, which isn't exactly where you want to be if you're Thought Police.
No.
They again they just got to bring it back together. But I mean, let's move over a step and roast Exodus a bit to make everything fair, I suppose. Because ironically, they do have quite a few people who are dying rather early in these fights as well. I mean, Axel's
Yes.
died to I believe 2 different Diva bombs, despite the fact that he had Lamp and actually used Lamp on his teammates, but somehow didn't get into his own Lamp.
Into
Fish
it, and on the second one was in the side room and never should have gotten hit in the first place, but still somehow walked in front of it
So like there are issues on Exodus as well, and the reason I bring that up is more so because Thought Police can take those issues from Exodus and
and
take
use them.
advantage of them, right? But they need to make sure that their mistakes aren't bigger, and thus far they have been. And now coming into this next map, Route 66, it is Escort, of course. Route 66 is honestly kind of interesting because I don't know what these teams want to run. They can run the Brawl again if they want, but they can also do something like a double shield. They can do a double bubble. They can just go for a flat out dive. So I don't know honestly what they might want to do here.
I think we might see Thought Police run this double shield at they started with at the beginning of the series on Lijiang Tower a little bit. I think they might be more inclined to run that. Um, but one of the things they really need to take advantage of is Fish's shatters when Tevatron has been alive with a shield have not been the best.
Yeah, Tepatron has done good of blocking the shatters. It's just unfortunate that he's dying so early in these fights, so he can't block the shatters, right? The big shatters
Right,
the fish has gotten 4 or 5 man shatters have all been when Tepatron was just focused down. And
right,
that's like partially on the supports of Thought Blaze, but also a big part on Tevatron. You need to manage your shield, you need to manage your health bar, because that is your entire resource. That's half of your usefulness. So
exactly.
it's gonna be difficult, but like I think maybe if Thought Police can find more of their comfort zones, go back into that Archivist Sombra, that honestly looks pretty good. That was when they looked their best thus far this series. That was the one time it looked winnable for them. So I'm not sure. Got about a minute left, anyways, before this potentially final map in the series. If everything goes the same it has been thus far, it could be over relatively quick.
Yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see if it is over. Again, you mentioned Thought Police definitely have the potential there to take a map off of this series, and I'm wondering if this might be the map where they can do it. Because one thing I've noticed is Fish has been dying early. Fish and Axel both have been dying early on Exodus quite a bit. See if they can take advantage of that. Take away the shield, take away a healer, and you've got
Oh yeah,
quite a
definitely.
bit of space.
I think if Thought Police can bump up their survivability, position a little bit better, supports get more on these dives, especially from Dad. Then I think if they can survive a little bit longer, they can start to take advantage of Exodus dying rather early. They are playing rather loose and fast, which plays into mistakes. So there are absolutely openings, but I mean thus far it's been the same old song and dance these past 2 maps, so it's hard to be too hopeful thus far. And we'll get a first look at what Exodus wants to run here on the defense before we get a concrete look of what Thought Police might want to do. Be interested to see if any double shield comes out, especially on the defensive first point. That's oftentimes popular, but now it looks like same old Brawl. Interesting to see if Laser sticks onto the McCree or maybe goes over to something like an Ashe. I wouldn't be too shocked to see the Ashe just to allow for a little bit more range, but no, okay.
McCree.
Not a bad pick. Not a bad
So
pick at all.
essentially, what we've seen from Exodus this entire game right
Yeah,
now.
pretty much. This is definitely their comfort zone. I'll be interested to see in future matches, or even if this match goes a little bit longer, how flexible they are, I suppose.
And we could
Uh,
see that.
yeah, they really haven't been forced off of this outside of like a few DPS picks, Immorta swapping from D.Va to Zarya, but that's not really anything major. Some
Right.
double shield coming out from Thought Police. I want to see if this slower pace and more
I was gonna
range
say,
allows them to be more comfortable.
and we could see with this Echo and
At least I really
Ashe
expect this.
kind of
Okay.
more of a good fight against what is wrong with Exodus. So Thought Police are doing
Fish.
okay. Fish is almost down, but Archivist
Fish doesn't have a shield. Yep.
Archivist falls though, so can't really take too much off of this unless you can get a lot done from Chief. I just realized Little is on the break, and Little's
Chief.
just going to do everything.
According to Twitch chat, Little has a rather good brig, and what I've seen thus far rings true to that. So, although his Lucio wasn't terrible,
Yes.
albeit a little bit aggressive, but neither here nor there, as this looks a little bit more hopeful,
Yes. I mean,
Archivist
one
looks good
fight,
on the
one
Echo.
win, and you
Yeah,
forced almost the entirety of Exodus to change half of Exodus to change.
Yeah, you.
I think Heels might change off and change back, but
Yeah, either way, you have Thought Police in a good position right now. They just want maybe less so losing
Well,
their brig.
yeah, that's not what you want. And Gumsats has the immortality field himself, so he'll be
Oh.
down next.
They're so
As
split.
Fish,
I'm noticing Greek is like going off on these off angles, and that's really not what you are capable of doing especially in double shield, you need to be with the rest of your team. Even in the brawl, you're allowed to flank a little bit, but he's playing comp right now. I think is the easiest way to describe it. I'm allowed to roast him a bit, but at that, like if you're gonna do that, you need to at least find openings, and thus far they haven't really. So it's rather risque as Immorta gets rather low, but no real collapse in onto that. So.
And again,
we're in a good position, but they need to capitalize on it now.
Dad shot an arrow through the Ant Matrix and just took Archivist out of the sky.
Okay, well, they're performing the cardinal sin of not respecting Hanzo's sight lines, which I mean, random headshots are basically in the character's kit by nature,
Yes.
so you have to respect that. Oh dear.
Oh, that shatter was blocked though. That's what you get for trying to shatter into a double shield.
Okay, well, little, we compliment your brig,
and then you show us this.
And then you walk into a dragon.
With Chief and Archivist coming back, we might see the rest of Thought Police actually be able to push this forward as Immortal gets stunned, has to have the Immortality Field used on him.
Oh, absolutely. Keep in mind that this entire time, Thought Police have a distinct spawn advantage, which is going to allow for them to get back faster. They're going to be able to contest the point and keep it moving. As I say that, they need to get someone on the cart. There we go. And they don't have too many ultimates coming into this, but they do have both support ultimates. They have the Bob, which is honestly crucial for stall, as well as if Chief tosses this in right when Exodus contests, it's probably going to be dangerous.
If you can get the payload to the door, it'll be even better with the Bob. As we'll see High Noon coming out from Laser. It will take down Tevatron, whose shield is in a very weird position. As Archivist going down too means you don't have your kind of flank DPS that you normally want, but Bob's out there and Bob is doing something.
Bob is most certainly doing something. I believe that was his second kill, and well, there are 3 people on the cart for Exodus still. I'm not sure if they can bring this back, especially with the fight going so back and forth.
Well, they are coming back on stall. Archivist is on Tracers, and I don't doubt we'll see another change.
I don't know if Thought Police can do this anymore. They don't really have the
trying, but with so many, and here's the dragons that'll kind of just seal the entire thing. Don't even let them stand on the point.
So here's the thing about Route 66, right? This push, well, not great. It's holdable, because as we saw, first point is very easy to push through and stop the offense from progressing very far. So there is potential, but the police need to play a little bit closer together and not allow for Dad to find these random picks left and right.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's your main issue, was you kind of just accepted the sightlines and said, okay, the sightlines are there. Let's just continue like they don't exist.
Basically, and that led to way too many picks in favor of Dad. I mean, again, Hanzo is just built for random headshots, random picks left and right, and it looks like they're teasing double bubble now on the side of Exodus, which, I mean, they have plenty of time to swap, but I also wouldn't blame them for running out on this, especially if they're expecting the double shield from Thought Police. If anything's going to break it, it very well might be a double bubble.
Yeah, I was about to say, which is what's coming forward, is this double shield. I wonder what DPS we'll get, though.
This looks a little bit more standard for double bubble on the side of the offense.
It does, and with Yozmai on the Mercy, I don't think Dad's coming off of this Echo. I think he's playing it.
Probably, yeah. You can pocket either Laser or Dad, whichever one is getting more value, which thus far it's felt like neither, as they're both kind of getting equal value.
Right.
They're both just getting picks left and right. Doesn't matter where you pocket, you're going to get something out of it. So it's really going to be on Chief in particular to find those sight lines, get value in, and force Dad out.
Archivist and Laser having a little duel, but Archivist will go back to his teammate after they got jumped on, but it's too late to save Tevatron. It might be too late to save this map.
Maybe?
Well, Fish goes down. Okay. I may have spoken too soon.
These main tanks just can't live very long. Okay, Chief.
Okay. Maybe Chief, you should play... And Archivist gets Dad. Chief, maybe you should play Ashe a bit more.
Just play Ashe Sombra, they'll be good for the rest of the series. But either way, Yeah, Chief definitely brought that back. The 2K and assisting on the third kill there, so kind of nullified whatever res came in from Yosemite.
Right.
Okay, well, Fish kind of scuffs up the jump a little bit, but it's fine. He recovers.
I mean, he's still on the high ground,
He
so
is, yeah.
he's still where he needs to be. Archivist kind of trying to shy him away from there, going up. And
Oh,
Chief will
what?
once again just get a pick out of this back corner onto Immorta. The res will be there. Excellent coach gun to keep Fish off of him.
Yeah, right now Chief is sitting pretty. He has all the
Fish is
sightlines he
nanoed.
wants. Oh dear. Well,
Or
they
was
need to
nanoed.
Find something.
He's stuck in the building. Or is Tevatron stuck in there with him? Little is so low as well, and with Gumsauce already down, you need Little to stay alive.
Oh,
And stay alive he does so far. He's able to keep the rest of his team up, and with Archivist being able to use that duplicate, it looks like it'll be...
this isn't looking too good.
No, it looks like it'll be won by
pretty-
Exodus. Dad used the duplicate as well. Morta used Graviton here and get
Oh,
Gumsauce.
yeah. No, that's gonna be the series, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't look like there's too
Well,
much more of that.
I wonder what Chief might be able to do. Can he show Dad up on the... No.
A Doomfist cannot 1v6, unfortunately. So that is going to be the series.
He can
Quick and
dream.
easy. It's hoping for a little bit of a closer game, as these teams are expected to be rather close to each other towards the bottom of the standings. But Exodus possibly making a name for themselves more towards the middle of the pack, maybe even the upper end of the pack. For now, they're going to be tied with whoever else wins. Yeah. You know, that's why you got to respect the Hanzo sightlines. It didn't even look like that was intentional. Outside of let me
No.
just shoot in this their general direction and see what happens. Yeah. So that is going
Yes.
to be that.
That's the game.
We are going to look for an interview as long as Exodus wants it. So stick with us, folks. We'll be right back from the short break with someone on Exodus for an interview, hopefully. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have Fish here from Exodus. How you feeling after that game, Fish?
Pretty good. I thought we played really well, all of us.
Definitely felt
Definitely
decisive
did.
at times. I have to know, have you been practicing with the Doomfists from Dad as much, or was that sort of like a spur of the moment thing?
Uh, you would think we have practiced it for longer than we actually have. It was kind of a thing we thought up in scrims about honestly 2 days ago. So, but it worked really well for us, and I think it's something we all are pretty decent at. Playing around.
The 2
that
days
is
ago
just
plan.
yeah.
The 2 day ago plans are always the best ones.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions, Volkanor?
Well, so what was trying to think of how to word this. What was your idea of when to press the go button against Tevatron specifically? I almost want to push the enemy Reinhardt.
It's a lot of just, Amorta and Dad they'll call, engages with a Bubble Doom, and then as soon as that happens, it's just kind of a go button for everyone. So Dad will call something, and then we'll all go in.
Okay.
Alright.
Yeah.
So
It felt
Acri, I don't
like-
know.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't know if you wanted to tell them why this game was streamed ahead of everything else, but ahead of the other game that was happening. But do you think that people, I guess, have probably underestimated Exodus as a whole?
Yeah, definitely. Our team is very unknown. We have a lot of people that are new this year. We have I know that me and Amorta are both rookies, and just our team in general was just pretty underestimated because people haven't really seen us play. But yeah, we're definitely a very, very solid team, and I think today kind of proved that. We played really well, and yeah, it was a good week one.
Speaking of matches, however, I believe your next game is going to be up against Papega Parrots. Now, of course, their game is not being streamed. Actually, no, I believe one of their players is streaming it, so you might be able to get a pot out of that. But how are you guys feeling going into that game? Obviously, Thought Police was also predicted to be a lower ranked team, whereas Papega is considered more like mid-table. What are your thoughts going into that game, which will be 2 weeks from now?
We're going to be just as confident into that game as we were going to this game. We're gonna treat most opponents the same. We believe that we're a really, really good team, and we're going to approach that game the same as we approach this game and just try to get a win.
All right. I think that's all the questions I have for you. Volkanor, do you have any more?
I'm just looking to see if the chat has a couple questions, but don't see any. So I think that's it. I think that's what we wanted to ask.
Okay. Have a good one.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
You too.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen,
Right.
I hope you enjoyed this series. Rather quick, but sometimes it happens. I'm sure there's at least one other game that is still ongoing as of right now. All of them can't be 3-0s. You
Well,
know what I mean?
Booth 2,
So,
the one thing I know is Booth 2 is still Booth 2 and 3 both do not have anyone in there for interviews, so
yeah, and both of those
they are
games
both possible.
expected to be a little bit closer. So go check out the main channel. It'll be League Zero OW, or what's the other one? Knock Plays will be Mortal Wombat versus Tenacity. I believe that match was rather hyped up, so go check that one out. And go show love to the rest of the community. But that's all we've got. I've been Acronator, joined by Volkanor and T42 on production. That's all we've got for you for this game. So until next week, have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone.